Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you see me? It is 12 a.m. The NGD lecture is about to start.
Hello, everyone. Can you
Wait, I
hear
can
me?
hear
Can you
myself
see
twice
me?
again.
It
That's a
is
problem.
12
You
a.m.
guys know I'm new to
The
this
NGD
streaming
lecture is
business,
about to start.
so let me take care of
Hello,
that.
everyone. Wait, I can hear myself twice again. That's a problem.
All right. Jeff is also there. That's nice. Good to have some support from your own teachers. Yeah, I silenced it. All right. So let's dig right in. Today we're going to talk about weak groups yet again. Why do we do that? Because after all, Go is a game about groups and not about points. Um, yeah, actually, Jeff often told me that one of the differences in teaching Go in Asia and the Asian Go schools and in Europe is, and I also experienced that when I was in China, that in the beginning you will see the Chinese kids that always play so aggressive and they really care only about groups in the beginning. And then later on, they start thinking about end game, about how to be better at the strategical part, about like where to build influence and where to make points. But that's the second part. And if you look at European players, they oftentimes, um, or at the beginning, they are very good at all the strategical things, and they know where to build the points, but then the opponent can just easily invade, and they are not really good at fighting, and that's one of the main differences in the teaching between European Go and Asian Go, is what I also found out when I got killed with all my groups back there in China, and the games were just crazy. Yeah, not sure if you guys agree, Antti and Jeff, but yeah, that's what I experienced. And so today we should focus yet again on weak groups and especially how to handle them. I have brought many games that I played and some examples where there are some weak groups. And yeah, also we will talk about how to identify weak groups. So, I mean, you may say this is easy how to identify a weak group, but just because a group is weak or stones are weak, it doesn't always mean that we have to take care of them. Sometimes, they can be sacrificable. That's always something you should consider, whether you can sacrifice some stones to be more flexible. And sometimes it is possible that the group is weak, but actually your opponent cannot easily benefit from it. Or they can attack it quite hard, but you will eventually be able to make two eyes, and the opponent didn't really get any points by that. That is always a risky business to tenuki some groups, but we will also see some examples here where this has happened. The stream chat is updating slowly. Okay. Um, so should we already dig into the examples? No, maybe not. I want to. No, well, we have talked about the weak groups that can be tenukied, but it's always a risky business. So you always have to check whether your opponent can actually attack it, and you can also think about, if I was my opponent, how would I attack it? Um, and of course, for that you also need to be good at attacking sometimes. It's actually funny because if you want to be a good defender and good at handling your own groups, you also need to be good at attacking, kind of, because you need to know where the weak spots are. But interestingly, as I think about it, many of the people I know that are good at defending are actually not so good attackers, such as myself. And yeah, that's why I also recommend to you, if you guys are somebody that like to defend your groups a lot and like to gamble on weak groups, then You should also make a trip maybe sometime to be an attacker and to play more aggressively, because like that you will learn how it feels like actually to be the attacker and where the weak spots are, and you can learn a lot from that for your own weak groups. Okay. How about we dig into one example? We will also talk about, I will also say some general things about how to handle weak groups, but we should maybe start with some example. Let's see, is this a good one? Is this a good one? Maybe we can start with this, because here, this is a game I played a few days ago actually. This is a clear example of, we know where the weak group is. That is not really a difficult topic. White has just separated and black has this weak group. But the question is also about how to handle it. So first, let's think about, is it sacrificable? What do you think? Is it sacrificable? We have and to determine whether something is sacrificable, you also need to, all the time in Go, you need to think about, is there something better to do? If we look at this board, there's maybe the bottom side, the right side, but actually we can clearly see that there's nothing extremely important to be done around there. If black plays around C, then white can maybe play around B. It's not like anything big will happen. So clearly this A should be saved, and the left side is where it's at right now. But how to take care of it? So I can imagine, there are many ways to do it. My opponent, let me show you the move right away, played here, and I found it was quite a nice move because it has some kind of flexibility. So if he would have jumped, this could also be a fine move, but it is a bit easier for me to attack this in the future. I could maybe peep and then cap, and it's already looking like black is a little bit heavy. Black won't die, don't worry, black can manage. But this is already maybe a bit of a nicer shape, because if I peep from here, black can make good shape around here and the other way around. And it's already a bit more flexible. So handling weak groups is all about flexibility and good shape. Yeah. I would have sacrificed. That's why I'm still weak. No, that's fine. We're here to learn. Baby shamble. Yeah, you could also think about playing lighter, something like this, but in this case it is, well, this could also be a move, but you can directly see that there is some cutting. Right now there is a ladder still, but how about we played a ladder breaker earlier, something like this. So this group is really not so weak. The chat on stream seems to be stuck. Let's see. Can I do something about it? Can I do something about it? Maybe it is there now. Yes, let's go. Wow, I managed something on the technical part. That's a first. All right. Okay, so let's look at what my opponent did. He played here. Kind of a nice shape. What I did was to lean on here. And it turned out something like this. This is not so important what happened here. And then I came for this move. And now black decided to jump out, because now black thought saving this stone at A, let me mark A, is not too important anymore. White has already invested a move at B, and to capture it, white would actually have to spend another move. And yeah, so it's not that interesting anymore. Black could have also played like this, but it could become heavier soon. So if white maybe defends and then black takes this, white could peep and attack it. So you don't want to become heavy right away, even though you could still live. Black can still live with this, that's not the problem, but white will have, yeah, white will maybe be able to make some points at on the bottom, attacking this, maybe even playing super aggressive like this. So black decided to play here. And I actually made quite a mistake by playing here right away. I was greedy, I wanted the points right away. And then black had a nice way to use this stone. Can you maybe see something that black can do? So the ladder is no good because white can also Atari at J15. But black can use this, so that is also something important when you're handling weak groups, how to sacrifice right. So I'm seeing a net, I'm seeing squeeze. That's both right. First we Atari and then we net. So, I mean, it is a net, but it's not a working net, but that's fine. Black could also Atari here now, but black wanted more, and it's very good that black wanted more. Black was able to squeeze this. And all of a sudden the weak group actually became a strength toward the center. Black captured next, and earlier it looked like white had all the influence, but now it's more like black has the influence, and yeah, that actually turned the game around, or made it at least even. Before it was not too bad for white. So yeah, defending is a lot about attacking in a way, so attacking the opponent's weak shape. And the weak shape, or the weakness in my position here was this stone, and black managed to use it to make the weak group strong. Okay, that is the first example, and good example on how to handle a weak group. The identification there was not quite the problem, but now we have a different situation. So this is a game I played, and black just played here. So where is the weak group? Do we have a weak group? Of course, we're talking about 1, 2, and maybe 3. And then the question arises, should white take care of it right now? Or does white maybe have time to do something else? So to know that, we have to actually find a move for the opponent to attack, or think about how the opponent will attack and how severe it will be. And then we have to think about what we can do. So, for example, this jump seems to be quite big, and it can make the center, so that's something quite nice to do. But we should also think about how bad is it if I maybe add some random move and the opponent plays here. There's still maybe some cutting point. I can still make part of the center. How bad is it? But for example, if we could invade the top, that would also be something nice. So there's a lot to consider. But what would you guys say? Would you add a move to this 1, 2, 3 group? One should also count to make such decisions. Dreadful Man Turtle is saying. Yeah, I mean, after all, you can say before every decision you have to count. I always think it's like some decisions you also need to make apart from the counting. I mean, sometimes it's just right to do something. It's not like, if I'm leading, okay, then I'll play super safe. And if I'm behind, okay, let me be greedy. It's not always like this, because it's not like you will come back by dying with a group. You can first defend and then try to come back on another direction. So when you're behind, it's not always so clear that each decision should have this in mind, that you're behind. I'm behind, I need to invade so deeply now. Maybe you're behind by only 5 or let's say 10 points. I mean, how often did you experience that the opponent made a 10-point mistake in the end, or three-point mistakes? Well, you would still lose by 1 point, but yeah. Saving 3 is just points, but man, that's a lot of points. Yeah, sure. That's true. The question is, does saving 3, let's say, with such a move, does it benefit the well-being of the whole group? If that is the case, then you did both. I mean, you made some eyes for the group, and you saved all those points. So this is actually, the move I just played is something to consider. But you should still think about, how about the opponent plays, let's say, this peep next, and then actually goes really aggressive. Oh well. Something like this could maybe happen, or maybe not too special. Well, maybe this is actually not the best move. This jump is kind of annoying also. This and then the cut. So black actually gets some points. So you also have to think about how much can the opponent benefit, right? You want to play R15. It calls to me. Yeah. So you would actually try to take care of the group, but you have to be careful how much it will actually help, because there can still be a cut theoretically. So this lecture I'm giving is actually also a reminder to myself, because a lot of these moments I'm showing you were difficult even for me, or what even for me, were difficult for me, and I made some mistakes. In the game, let me show you the move I played. I was greedy and I did a bad move. I played here. But actually, that was a mistake, and my opponent ended up benefiting a lot. So what I should have done was, I should have actually taken care of the group. And maybe this move is something nice, actually. I like the idea of saving the stones while making some eyes, but it could also be greedy. Maybe it is just the case that I have to play a boring move and just go down here and maybe even block. Sure, there is some cut, but I can Atari and play like this, so there is still a coal left. So yeah, here in this case, it would have actually been good to save the stones. I didn't do that, or I didn't play for them, and the game got very close after this. My opponent got to cut this group and already made some points there on the right. And then I had to take care of my group. So that was not so nice for me. Okay. That is that example, and here the question was more about identifying the weak group, or not only identifying, but judging about how weak the group is. And actually the group is not that weak, but it turns out the opponent can benefit quite a lot from cutting too. So, and my move was nothing too special. That was the problem I had. I thought this move is very big, but actually if black enters here, it's not too big of a problem. Black still has some weakness, and I can still defend most of the center. Hi Atari, nice that you're there. Okay, let's go to the next example, which is what? This one? Ah, okay, yeah. This is a game I played against Anti, and I was black, so yeah, I could have shown you some example of where Anti handles weak groups. I think I have some, but here I decided to take one of my own handlings. I hope that's all right for you. And we can discuss about whether I handled it well, because actually I'm not too sure. The final result was not too great. Yeah, but I didn't die, at least with my group, and that's something to be proud of. So the identification of the weak group is not too hard here. We have 1, 2, 3. And the question is how to handle this. First, we can think about, can I live locally without touching the opponent? So something like this. And then white plays here, and maybe I can do this. Well, I already touched quite a lot. White got stronger. And then, well, I'm not sure. It might be alive, actually. But you don't want to live this cramped. White will get a lot of benefits, and white got strong. But actually, if we look at this, white has some weaknesses. So white has the weakness between A and B, or at around A. So there is some hole here. And in this shape, B and C, there is always the weakness around D or around E. So that's something I have in mind, and maybe I can take care of. Or maybe I can use. So let me show you what I did. Or maybe, do you have some suggestions first? How would you handle this group? Would you go for the local way, or would you maybe play A right away? Keep in mind that this kind of a group, in theory, can also be sacrificed if you can get something out of it. So let's imagine I play this move, and I already, if white answers like this, I already got something, and I can attack the corner next. And then, I mean, this is not necessarily the best thing to do, but there could be some scenarios in which I sacrifice the stones, or at least only the A stone can be sacrificed, right? G15. Attack F10 group. F10? Where is F10? Huh. Okay, yeah. To attack the F10 stone at B, you first have to cut it. But that's an interesting thought. So defending while attacking the opponent, or having this idea of, well, you kill me, I kill you, but then you never know if you will actually kill the opponent. Especially if you play against Anti, who is always living with such groups. So yeah, that seems a bit risky. K14 seems intuitive, but I'm not sure it works. That is okay. We don't always have to be sure. That is the move I played. And yeah, because that's taking the opponent's weakness into account. So I did this with the idea of, if white plays here, I can capture this stone and get stronger. And if white plays like this, I can basically just connect. So Anti played here, because if I get this, I will still be surrounded, and it's not that comfortable for black. So I waited. If you have such an option to capture a stone, or maybe to run out, these are two valid options. So you shouldn't always take one of them right away. Maybe you can do something else first. So what I did now, I thought, well, before I take this, because now I'm pretty safe with my group, I can easily live, I want to ask a question first. I want to play here. Wait. Yeah, I want to ask this question, because if white plays from here, then I maybe don't need to play this, which will end up in a bad shape. So I can try to get some eyes just like this, and I'm alive already, and I didn't make white that strong. So Antti decided to cut this. And then I still didn't want to do this, so I went for the other weak point at G15. And then things got a little bit out of hand because I cut here. And then Antti decided to finish this off. So my whole action was a bit risky because here I ended up in Gote and I have to still, you know, there's the cut here. Let me show you what happened. So this is what happened. I sacrificed this stone and gave white quite some points, but eventually I got to play here and I get to attack the corner a little bit. So yeah, maybe I was a bit greedy and I tried too much, and because eventually white got quite a lot of points, but I used my opponent's weaknesses to get out. Maybe I should have at some point, maybe around here, said, okay, now I will take this to secure my group first and then keep playing a bit more aggressively, because eventually my opponent got quite a lot of points. Okay, let's go to the next example. Yeah, I've used this example in my last lesson as well, because it's such a nice position. I think white has just played here, and yeah, we look at the group at 1 and we wonder, as black, should we add a move? How should we add a move? How weak is it? So first, maybe I'll ask you guys, if you were white, if it was white's turn now, how would you attack this group? If you had to. Let's say black plays a greedy move, just something here. Would you come from the outside, or would you, yeah, Kma G13, or would you play something more from the inside? I would not attack it right now, as I don't see clear way to profit. Okay, so you're saying, Dreadful Man Turtle, that this black's move is just fine, because you don't see the clear way for white to attack. So if this happened in your game, you should definitely Tenuki and see what happens. Seems hard to attack. Yes, okay. I think you guys are getting the point already. If white plays here, which seems like the natural way to attack, black can actually make life locally almost already. It is a golden group, yes. Those terms that have happened in the other streams. A group which is hard to attack and can be tenuki'd. So, for example, black can play here, and if white answers all these in a nice manner, black is almost already alive locally. Maybe you don't even need to play this. There is also this move on the second line. If white gets aggressive, you can Hane here first, threaten the cut, and then you're almost alive like this. But, I mean, it's not 100% clear, right? So this is maybe a bit risky. So maybe you should even go for this shape. And then like this. Plus, black can actually still kind of escape, right? If black has this move in center, black can still kind of escape. So it is not so easy to attack this group. So what we have to keep in mind, you always have to look at the local situation and see, can I live locally if I would be surrounded? And if you can, then there is oftentimes no point in running, and no point in attacking it as well. If white already had a group stone here and stone here, then maybe it would be bigger already, because white can profit more. White can get this Kama and make more points at the top. But in this open situation where white doesn't have a clear way to profit, it is nice to keep it like this and to play a big move. It ruins b10 RG. You want to play b10? That is a nice move actually, but a bit greedy. I mean, you wanna live like this and then. Ah, well, actually it's an interesting move, but I mean, it is quite risky. You shouldn't do this at home. Okay, so apparently there are also some groups that don't need to be defended, even though they are weak. I mean, you wouldn't say this is not a weak group. It is a weak group, but it is weak only to some extent. And yeah, you could also say, if you're afraid that white can get a huge moyo by attacking it, then you first reduce the moyo with a move, and then it's not there anymore. So for example, if you would be afraid that white can make a huge moyo at the top, then you can play here, and now all of a sudden if white attacks, white cannot make that moyo anymore because there is that stone. That is also an idea that I have seen a lot and I have tried to do a lot. Yeah, but in this case it doesn't really, it's not really like that, because white cannot make a big moyo. All right. Let's go to some other examples. I have some more. I have quite some more. Wow, this example. Later expanding at h10 might be a good threat. Well, let's dig into this example. This is a bit of a different thing here. It is my game against Jeff, and it is more about invasions. But invasions always, I mean, invading always kind of means a weak group as well. So here we can see a master of invasions and handling weak groups. And you may not believe this, but actually later you will see that Jeff managed to live with a group in the core of my moyo at around here. And yeah, there you can see that I might not be the best attacker, but it was not so easy to handle his invasion. So before invading this, we can try to collect some weak spots of whites. Where do you see weak spots in this framework? It's really not so easy to find many. So if you would invade here, where are the weak spots? We need to figure out where we can benefit. Well, I mean, there are some stones at 1 and 2 that might be used, but not right away. Then we have a Shimari. So it doesn't really look like you could enter with a group there. Around the F9 group. Yeah, so there is this group at 5, which in theory can be cut off if 1 is saved and 2 is saved. So if we save 1, then it is kind of sente, because then white needs to take care of 2. Then there is also something like Atari and go out. This is sente, because next you can capture the stones here, right? So actually you could do this right away, and then white would have to Atari here, and you will get yet another move. So you already got 3 forcing moves that you have in your pocket, and you have to know this to invade, because otherwise it is not enough. For example, also this Kema here is Sente, and maybe next you could run out with the stone and try to make a position on the left. This is also Sente because it threatens to get a ko to connect. So maybe white would have to play here, but then you will get yet another Atari. So you already got three other moves. So you have different options to get forcing moves. You would start with something like c15. Okay, yeah. So the idea is there. A Shimari can also be called a weakness, kind of, because there's, I mean, white is claiming to get the corner, but if you play some moves to threaten it and white defends it, you get some moves, right? So that is also kind of a weakness, a Shimari actually, or you can attach. There are all kinds of moves. So let me show you what Jeff did. Jeff came from here, threatening my corner, and I mean, I would have to decide if I just defend it like this, then I just give black a Sente move around there, and black can try to get more. But if I am like, okay, I want to defend this side, then there is that single stone at the top that can be taken advantage of, or some attachment here. So all kinds of attachments are there. I decided to defend my corner. Yeah. And then let's see what black did. Black did another attachment. So when you invade, you can attach as much as you want, basically. Well, not all the time, but single stones that are just lying around there in the center can also be kind of called weaknesses, because yeah, because you can attach to them and you get just some forcing moves. And if you combine a lot, then you will be even be able to live in such a space that seems so strong already. And if the opponent harness, then you can either cross cut or just extend, and there's a cut left. So that's quite a weakness as well, actually, a single stone like that. So let's see, c14 to d17 is a weak connection. Yes. Yeah, right. That's what Antti is saying. Between 2 and 3, there is a... I'm claiming that they are connected, but if I want to keep them connected, then I need to play moves like 4, and my opponent will get forcing moves. So that's the idea. I committed with the Shimari to trying to connect the stones. And yeah, so my opponent attached, Jeff attached, and then went for this one, which is Sente, because I will have to defend my stones. I did that. And then, see, he didn't right away exchange all those, because he doesn't know which one he wants yet. He might want the extension, which is Sente, or he might actually play something a bit more direct at some point. Running out here, you never know. He might actually be able to cut off the other stones. So when you handle weak groups, it's a lot about flexibility and having different options. If you directly determine one option, then all of a sudden you're heavy. But if you leave it like this, you have different options. And that's quite important. That's some fancy footwork, yes. So then he went for this open space. I decided to jump here because I want to give black less space. But actually, I still have the weaknesses around here, so not sure if this jump was so great. But it's really difficult to attack such a group, because, I mean, in theory, I have 10 options that are all considerable. And when I have so many options, it's really hard to decide. So you might feel nervous invading this, because you think, well, if I die, the game is over. But actually think about it. black lives here, white is done. White is also lost if you just live in the core. And because there are so many options, and yeah, it's really difficult for me to find the good attacking spot. So I decided to jump. Now he wanted to get some forcing moves in, but only one, and then another attachment. And I decided to play very carefully. You know, I played one solid move after the other because you don't want your opponent to get more forcing moves. But actually, what I did with those moves was also being quite passive. I gave my opponent more space. But imagine if I would have Haned, then there's directly this move, for example, which is Sente, and then maybe here another cut. So I don't know, it's really difficult when the opponent comes at you like this. But being too solid is also not always good. So yeah, it's really not easy to attack such a group. And then he finally went for some eye space, threatening to enter the top side. And look at this. He even uses that weakness. If I want to keep connected, he will get yet another move for his eyes, and then eventually another move for his eyes. So he used everything and barely managed to live. This is alive. If I kill the eyes here, black can make another eye here. And yeah, that's just the Jeff magic. And nobody, and of course he didn't read this from here. He just felt it. He saw the weaknesses. He saw that there was enough space. And of course it has a lot to do with experience. And there will probably have been some moments in which he died with such a group. But I think last time has been quite some time ago. Impressive display, this. Yeah, this is quite an impressive invasion. You could also say I didn't attack very well. What I did was just keep everything safe and especially try to not give my opponent that many forcing moves. But I should have attacked harder because like this, it was too easy. I couldn't believe that in such a space, even if I play super safe, I thought he will not be able to have enough space. But he did. Well, yeah, it was not, if it was a tutoring game, it might also just have been an overplay. Well, it was not really a tutoring game. When Jeff plays against me, he plays quite seriously. So, yeah. And I think he would also do this in any given game. So, yeah, that is just a magic I wanted to show you. Invasion magic. That is quite... Yeah, that shows quite some skill on how to handle weak groups. And especially you need to notice how flexible black was. I mean, no, this is too far. Black thought, I mean, whatever white will do, I will find some way to take advantage of it. And black had no clue on when and where the eyes will come, but he just had the feeling and the experience that they will come from somewhere. And he thought, well, I might need to sacrifice this stone for it, but then I will live on two. Or I will sacrifice all of these, but then I will maybe be able to cut these stones off. You need to be very flexible in general in Go. Always sacrifice some part, get the other part. That sounds like wishful thinking, Go. Yeah, it's also kind of wishful thinking, that's true. But if you have the given experience, then that wishful thinking can come true. All right, so we have the next example. This is a game I played against Oscar. I was white. First of all, let's try to identify the weak group. Or, I mean, there are two potential weak groups. This is the group we're talking about. I guess that's not so hard to find out, but we have to identify how weak it is. and if we should add a move and how we should add a move. And d6 is also there. Yeah, that's true. So it could also be of value to connect those. But then the group at 2 still has an option to just go around here or get out. So yeah, but those are the two groups. But actually, if you think about how to attack it, it's not so easy for black. Black would first have to split them. So let's say something like if white doesn't play at all, black would have to split them, and then white can first take care of the left group. And this group is safe now. And now the question arises, how can black actually attack the other group? Because you don't want to cut right through here because you have some really bad shape. So yeah, what would you guys say? Would you add a move around there, or would you maybe be greedy and play somewhere else? You would like to try m3 or m4 first? So you want to take care of that weakness. m3, yeah, that is definitely one of my first considerations, because this is just a shape that I have seen often. But I thought about this, and it seems like in this case, since black is really strong around, black could cut this, and I cannot really do much about those stones. So I would have to sacrifice them. And I could do that. I could, for example, cut here, actually. Looks interesting. And then maybe try to get this. If I would get this, that's quite nice, because this might even be Sente. Well, it's not really Sente, but I already got quite something. But yeah, we would have to think about stronger resistances by black. Black might even go down. So this move is something to consider, definitely. But as we said earlier, right now I still have different options. I can attach from here. I can attach from below. So maybe I don't even want to use them right away. Yeah. So then we can also see there is some weakness around here that I might use with an attachment, or maybe more like this shape, because the connection between 1 and 2 is also shaky. So what I actually decided to do was to tenuki. And I lost this game, I can tell you this. And I would eventually say that the main reason, well, one of the reasons I lost this game was this tenuki. Because it turned out that I didn't handle my group very well in the following. It was still possible to do it, but from now on, everything I do needs to be quite precise. Yeah, black is Oscar. I mentioned it very briefly, and he managed to attack me very well, and that's the thing. I mean, in theory, this move is probably okay, but the following, I'm on a very thin line. I always need to take care of my groups in a proper way, and there were some good ways to do it, but I didn't really do it. So black went for the cut and then actually just kept this. Very patient. And as you can see, black has a plan. Black wants to build a huge moyo at the top. So when that is the plan, there's some danger incoming, because I don't want to... I mean, I could in theory just connect something like this, but that's really good for black. Black already won the game like this, so I don't want to touch it too much. So I went for this move, actually, but I got quite weak. Eventually, I managed to live, but he got too many stones on the outside. Eventually, there is quite some good way to handle this group, which would be attaching from below here, and then maybe even going down. And this. But if I don't really find this, then it is quite dangerous. The chat is stuck again. So I always have to renew this somehow, but that's not nice. Okay, now it should be fine again. Well, but that's not a solution for the future. But yeah, like this, I'm eyeing at this weakness at 1, and also the 2 stone can be cut off, and I might make some ice at the bottom. So if black just defends like this, I can go down here. Next, there is the Hane. If maybe black plays here, I can Hane here, which is really annoying and a bad shape for black. And then I can come from this, and I'm basically alive already. So that's not really a nice way for black to play. Black maybe would like to play this kind of an exchange, but as you can see, white can make quite some good shape. Yeah, but I decided to play from this side, and actually black just had to defend, and I'm not really making any eyes right away. So in retrospect, I would have preferred to just add a move here. Maybe even a Keima. Yeah, because it saves both of my groups, and if black plays here, I can still invade the top, and it makes the game longer and easier. Okay, let's go to some other example. This one I like a lot. Okay, again, my game against Jeff. I am white, I just played here. So this is quite difficult example, I think, because it's really quite unclear. There might be different opinions on this, and we should discuss about them. But yeah, I want you guys to think about where you would play as black. So we have some options. We have this group at 1. If this group, we have the right side, which is kind of big. You could wedge here. Many options, and all of them can be okay. But what black did in the game is probably the best thing. It's a common shape, is it not? Yeah, well, you're talking about this. We could actually put this here, and I will just play here. What do you do next? Do you cut this? And do you start a fight right away? Is that what you want? Maybe. I mean, in this common, after such a jump, it is also very common to just tenuki it, because white's next move is not too special. White can just play here, you will peep and play here. This is also a very common shape in which white spent another move, or white spent one move to get this good shape. So you don't necessarily have to continue there. G13. A sort of wannabe ear reddening move that helps too and prepares for H17. Yeah, but I mean, it's an interesting move. It is definitely ear reddening, but maybe too ear reddening. You could play H17 right away if you wanted to. That's not really dangerous. And actually, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys know this, the ear reddening move turned out to be not such a great move on the AI. Just want to mention that. Of course, it's still the best move ever played, but I mean, it is not so. It is rarely really good to play a move that does three things at the same time. Well, if it does one thing really well and the other two a little bit, that's nice. But you would want to in Go. You kind of want to do one thing well and not two things like wishy washy. That's quite a general concept. Yeah, because eventually, if the opponent is good, they will manage to take care of both wishy-washies, and then eventually you didn't even do one real thing and only two half things, and maybe even only two third things. So yeah. Right. If it does three things, each at 30% efficiency, they sum to 90%. That's what I tried to explain with too many words. Just play a move 100% from the beginning. Thanks, Jumping Point. That's a very good explanation. But let's get back to this opponent, to this situation. So, how weak do you determine the group at number 2? Can white attack it? Is it important? Is it sacrificable? That's the main question in this position. And is there anything really special to do? I mean, on this board, there's lots of things to do. You can play here, but then actually white can still invade the corner and be annoying a little bit. But there's definitely big moves. I mean, even this, or yeah, whatever. Let me show you the move. That Jeff played. Jeff just jumped. And actually it surprised me during the game because I was like, huh, really? That seems a bit slow. And I wasn't expecting this jump at all. But if you think about it, it is quite an important move. If you would just go for something bigger, white could, for example, push here. If you then defend the left side, it is quite easy for white to attack the whole group. And it will not be happy in the following, and white will be able to benefit a lot. So you wouldn't want to respond here, right? You would maybe try to connect this. Let's make it, for the sake of argument, white peeps here, because not answering this peep is quite huge. And then I play here. Now it is even harder for white to connect to the right side. So now as white, I could already get some nice double hane, making the top side a bit bigger, and I can still keep attacking. So actually this group is weaker than you may have thought. And jumping here is the proper move. It does one thing really well, which is defending the group, and it also already starts looking at the top. So it does some more than one thing. So yeah, but this is the kind of patient move that we need to get better, to not get into positions in which yeah, we will have trouble with groups. So yeah, really remember this kind of a move. It may not look like this two group is too weak, or you can easily handle it, and it will not die. Sure, if you play a move around here, it will not really die. But white will get a lot out of it. Already this, the double hane, is quite some benefit. And then white can maybe get this move in center, and then already the top is looking not too bad. Just like that. Okay. Let's get to some other examples. Finally, we have Antti managing some group. And I'm black. So I just invaded here, and the question is on how we can handle the group at 1 and 2, and if we can maybe sacrifice it, or if we should take care of it right away. How can the opponent attack? So you guys can guess, but you will probably not find the move that white played. Maybe I give you one chance. I give you 2 chances. What's the move white played? I mean, it might not be the best move, but it's definitely an interesting one, and the one I want to show you. So yeah, if you can guess the move, then I don't know, I don't have any prizes to give. So probably you already know that it will not be 1 or, I mean, not be 3, or it will not be 3 or 4. Does anybody want to take a guess? If not, then I'll just yeah, the obvious attach on top will be wrong. 08. Let's see, 08. Yes, so we have one suggestion. 012. I see some ear-reddening moves. Well, B looks more like an ear-reddening move. P16. Something to do with O gamer on top. That is true, something to do with O gamer on top. So taking care of that, it's again, this connection between D and E can be taken advantage of, especially when you're about to defend a group. So none of you guessed the move. C came close, but it was this attach. 015 would also have been quite close. So yeah, it was this attach. What's so nice about this attach? It kind of takes care of the group, but also not really. I mean, white is being flexible here. He's saying, if black wants to split them and attack the stones there, I can just take something else. It's fine. And black will need 2 more moves to actually get all of them. And it's not too big, because black is strong at the bottom, black is strong at the top. Saving this group is only about points. So if white would have played something basic like this, would also have been fine, but it definitely gives the initiative to black. And on this board there is so much to do that maybe saving this group is not necessarily the biggest. So white decided to attach here, and I went for the aggressive version, but this already gives white some profit on the left. I decided to give white the profit on the left so that I can attack the group harder, and now was the right timing for white to take care of the group. If white sacrifices it now, then it's too big. So let's say just take another stone, and if black gets it in a big scale. So I wanted to make my attack worthwhile by making it bigger, by making the potential capture bigger. If I capture it like this, then it's definitely worth it. So this was the right timing for white to take care of the group. And take care of it just normally. But white already got something at the top, some profit. It's not huge because black can still invade there, but it's already now black's, how to say this? No, I mean, black has to do something to actually invade at the top, and it's black's burden. White already has something there, and if black does nothing, the top will become white. And if white would have taken care of that right away, by just doing this, then black could have just played a move at the top easily and actually built something himself. Could it be considered too early heavy for black to split on such an empty board? What do you mean to split? So you're saying basically that my moves here were a bit too heavy. Yeah, that could be true. I was really hoping to attack this group because, I mean, this group is still weak. I can still take advantage of it, but it's harder already. There was also the option to play here. Maybe this would have been better, but white will still be able to take advantage of this. So now the idea maybe was, I don't know exactly what Anti's plan was, but I can imagine already something like, I mean, now there are different ways to handle the group. You can get one more forcing move, or maybe you can even get this one in and then take care of the group in a more flexible way and in a better way. So like this, the group is already bigger or stronger. But yeah, maybe I should have done this. You mean the R11 stone, since Tenuki was a good option. Was it too early to play it? Yeah, that's something we can discuss. But I mean, it would really be hard to imagine that this move is so wrong. After all, it still puts white in a position where white has to decide and has to do something. If white just defends here, it is also really a big move. So this move should be okay. Maybe not the... Well, I think it should be a good move, yes. Even though white has some ways of handling the group, it is still some profit. I mean, already like this, I get some points on the right, and white doesn't get the points. That's already quite some benefit, and the group remains weak. Okay, let's see. Do I have some last example? No, this might have been the last example already. Let's see. Ah, nice. Okay, so also what I want to show you at this game. So about this bottom side, this is also a nice way of handling the corner group, is to come from here. Instead of just living here small, white decided to handle it by looking at the opponent's weakness, which is around A and B. So if black now kills the corner from the corner side, white can just connect. And black is really over concentrated and didn't actually kill the group. The question would be more like, what does white do if black plays here? Well, the corner, after all, doesn't have to be... I mean, it doesn't need to be saved. It's okay if it dies. But even like this, there's still the possibility for white to make something. So, for example, like this, and then Atari from below, and jump. Actually, white is connected. This is not necessarily so great for white to do right away. So maybe white would wait a bit, because here white can also maybe use some other forcing move from above. So white wouldn't decide right away, but I, as black, had quite some difficulties to decide what to do after this move. So I eventually thought, well, let me just Tenuki and decide later what I want. Even if black plays this one already, it is not the greatest exchange locally. I could play like this. Well, no, like this. Or even what I read in the game, Hane and connect to try to kill it like this. But actually, white can still kind of live. Wait, how was this? No, not like this. There was something. Can you guys see something for white to live here? How was it? I remember it gave me a headache during the game to read this. There's definitely lots of RG, that's for sure, but I can't see the clear way to live right now. Well, already like this, these exchanges locally are pretty bad for black. I mean, you played on the second line right away just to really kill the corner. But even like this, if white just defends, there is lots of RG left, even if white cannot find a clear way to live right away. Yeah, and that stone on Q4 is also not saved yet. It's also not captured yet, so it can still be used. Yeah. P5 Kusumi for white should have some threaten to connect or live variations. Yeah, I also tried to read this, but I couldn't find a clear solution. So this could be a start. Wow. Like this. Atari and capture. And now this is self Atari. Yeah, true. So you connect. Wow. If black chooses that. If black does this. Is it the same? Ah, no, like this is not the same. But I mean, already having to play here, isn't that quite a huge pain? And then this one can be sent to white. Black cannot play here so easily, or could play here, but yeah, there's definitely lots of RG left. You don't want to play like this as black. So I just decided to do nothing. Okay. Well, we're kind of at the end of the stream, or at least at the end of the examples. We have some minutes left, so do you guys have some general questions about weak groups? I mean, I guess everybody has questions about weak groups because it's so important, but maybe some ideas, some things we haven't mentioned, or something that has happened in your game. How do you determine sacrificability? Yeah, so that's something we can see at this example quite well. Wait, no. How was it? I played here. So, yeah, it's a hard question, but I can try to say some things. I mean, just from this example, the value of this group, 1 and 2, as I mentioned earlier, is really only about points, because black at 3 is so strong. So it's not really like if white saves 1, white will be able to attack anything more. If white saves 2, white might have some more RG in the corner, but even if white sacrifices 2, the RG in the corner is there. So white doesn't really get anything more from saving them. It's really just about the points around it. But at the moment later, where, and if I just kill them like this, it's really not even worth it, like this, because I would actually need another move to make sure. I spend so many moves, so that's something you can look out for. If the opponent has spent too many moves to capture them, and it's actually not too big compared to what you got, because white got the whole top side, almost the whole top side, and Sante. So the moves that white got are worth more. But at the moment, later in the game, where black made it bigger, then all of a sudden it's definitely big enough to capture them in a big scale. If white would have played some other move and now I played here, then maybe not, because I added another stone. So it's a lot about value of moves and how many moves you spend to actually kill something. But now white decided it was big enough and went for it. That's as far as I want to go for today, because sacrificability is really a big topic and something we can learn for years. But yeah, that is the first idea, to look at the value of the moves and what you can get out of it, and to see, yeah, what the value of the group itself is if you save it. So let's read some comments. There is a difference between theory and practice. In practice, I wouldn't recommend one to think intentionally about sacrificing, at least not often. That's what Jeff is saying. Yeah, I mean, sacrificing is always a nice option to be flexible, but you can play a game without sacrificing and still win. That's true. It is a bonus. Until one is near pro level, that is. Yeah. Well, many people try to learn to sacrifice early on, and sometimes I believe also at a lower level it is really important to be able to sacrifice. I mean, of course, there's different extents of sacrifice. This stone at 1, everybody knows it's going to be sacrificed. But the group at 2 is more of a difficult question, or the group at 3. But of course, you need to be able to sacrifice the stone at 1. But about bigger groups, it's different. And it's harder. All right. Yeah, I think that concludes the stream. Thank you guys for tuning in and for your comments and for your insights. I hope you learned something, and if not, then maybe next time. So yeah, see you guys. Goodbye.